Wargamer Online, the home of wargaming.
Hello and welcome to an impromptu hobby hangout. That's the best way of describing this. Who knows whether any of this technology is going to work? Liam, do you want to say hi? Just see if people can hear you.
I'm Liam again.
I think that's working, and I'm not sure it's balancing perfectly. We've got a microphone over here, which doesn't help because I have to look over there at the camera, but we'll work that out in a bit.
Hello.
This is Luke. That's Liam. And I'm Phil, and we've got a hobby hangout tonight. It's been a while since I did a show. There's a whole bunch of stuff, some of it personal, some of it not so, which meant I've not been around much. One of them not so personal issues is literally my computer is in for repair. So this is temporary technology, I'm afraid. So everything blew up, which wasn't great news. So hopefully my machine will be back in, I think, about 2 weeks, because unfortunately it was a warranty issue, which meant, well, I say unfortunately, that's actually quite fortunate, but what it means unfortunately is I have to wait quite a while because I've got to get it repaired, etc, etc, and it'd be crazy to go out and try and buy another machine. So there you go, that explains where we've been a little bit. Whoa, Joe Whedon's just subscribed. How you doing? Or Jay, sorry, Jay, I don't know why I said Joe. Yeah, thanks for doing that. And so here we are. We've got a bit of a hobby session on, basically. Liam, do you want to talk through what you're working on?
I'm currently working on my orcs that I may or may not be taking with Jack to the next doubles tournament.
So you're talking orcs, yeah?
Yeah. So I've got my big old ice-themed Maw Crusher here. It's not very... Yeah. You can't see it well.
You know, I've seen that. That's beautiful. Your camera is shockingly poor quality tonight, so we'll maybe get some images sent over to me. If you Facebook message them to me or something, I can probably show them on screen anyway. So you've got the Maw Crusher, and what was the other thing in your hand there?
I had the base. So I've been working on this base, just making it all rubbly and stuff.
A base.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Good enough base.
Let's see what we've got going off on this desk. I think, let me see if I can do this. Yeah, we've got a desk camera going off. We're currently working on some Kurnoth Hunters. I'm going to zoom in on these. So, how do I do this? A little bit out of practice now. So this is a Kurnoth Hunter with a fish head. Yeah, he looks pretty cool actually. So that's the helmet off of the... Come on, Luke, what is this?
It's the helmet of Eidolon of the Sea.
And the reason you're doing that is because you are sticking them in your rather heavily... Can I show this? Because these have never been seen.
Yeah, of course you can.
Certainly on YouTube. So this is your rather wonderful looking Iden of Deepkin army, which are themed around a kind of undead Iden of Deepkin army, isn't it? A Nighthorn kind of Iden of Deepkin army, and that is a gorgeous looking paint job that you're doing there, mate, as well. And I know that this is your first test model, isn't it? Is it fair to say it's your test model?
Yeah,
I think it's fair to say.
I've got some more over here.
Go on, grab a couple more bits and we'll show them what we're going off with. You know what, I have realised I haven't got comments up, so I'm going to get comments up shortly, and we'll catch up on the chat. So this is awesome, this effect, isn't it? It's absolutely lovely. And at some point maybe we'll get Luke to actually share how he's achieving this effect. Are you allowed to talk about it? Is this like a secret methodology that you're not prepared to discuss with anyone? Right. Well, we'll talk about what's going on with those guys. These are really cute looking models, aren't they? Because you've got this combination of Iden of Deepkin and Nighthorn. That's my favourite. Is that the Achillean King?
Yeah.
Oh man,
yeah,
I just snapped the spear. No, I'm joking.
I might have broken.
Nice guffawing laugh in the background there, Liam. Just like,
I'm sorry.
That's cool. I tell you what, I'm going to see if I can get the chat up because I think there are some people in the chat. So, apologies. Let me just see how I can do this. There we go. That's here we go. We can pop the chat out, and I'll be able to keep up with people. So here we go, click over there, get rid of that, and I can still control the show. As I said, this is an impromptu hobby hangout. Don't expect a lot of sense out of us tonight. We've done quite a bit of gaming. Luke's fair exhausted. I think that's fair to say. Right, let's catch up on the chat. Vaughn Killian saying howdy all. Fordalim is saying talking Warhammer Tuesday with Phil and Liam and Luke. And Vaughn Killian says I'm still up on the board. Kind of disappointing. I'm still up on the board. I don't know what that means. But anyway, oh wait, I'm not showing that for ages. Thank you very much, Vaughn. Anyway, I don't mind. I'm not disappointed by that at all. And where is it? Is this bits collecting Luke? Yes, this is indeed bits. Collecting is a kind word for what he actually does to your bits box.
Just
Bits
steals it.
destroying. Why do you think you've got Eidolon of head on top of your Kurnoth Hunter? Actually, you know what? Let's just take a minute to talk about this model. So this is a Kurnoth Hunter from an entire set of Kurnoth Hunters he stole from me, with the head of my Eidolon on top of it. So
What a monster.
Already built head.
and the bow is actually some fine copper wire I got for making bowstrings. So the bowstring rather. So none of this is actually the texture paint you stole out of my hobby.
You're a monster, Luke.
David Ellis says sup Pete's Johnny Rockstar saying evening all. Martin Champion saying hey all. Hi Martin, how you doing? Vaughn says if it wasn't for class in 30 I would be building more Marines. Oh, class in 30 minutes? Yeah, oh no, that's that time difference for you, but there's nothing wrong with building Marines. Can't you just take them into the class? Is that not possible? I'm sure somewhere on the internet there's a meme of somebody doing their Warhammer at the back of a lecture theatre, isn't there? So there we go. I mean, a lot's happened, hasn't it, in the last few weeks as well, interestingly enough, in terms of what's been going off on the old internet. So should we catch up on some of this stuff? Have we got any thoughts on any of this? Well, where were we? Warcry, I think, was the last release. Jack has returned from the Himalayas, so I'm hoping you guys can hear me okay, actually, because the mic's kind of over there for when Luke talks, so apologies if that's quite poor. So Jack has returned from the Himalayas in the last few days, and he's discovered I destroyed his daughter's army, so you know that went down really well. So I've got some more repair work to do there, Luke. I'm sure that was your fault as well. What else has happened? There's been a whole bunch of announcements, hasn't there? Let's face it. Anything from
Warcry,
loads and loads
Blood
of
Bowl.
new Marines. That's what it's all about now. 40k Marines has gone a bit crazy, hasn't it? We've also got Aeronautica, looking a little bit like the X-Wing game. That looks pretty cool. I like X-Wing, so I'm hoping it's quite similar to that. Seems to be on the hex-based grid though, doesn't it? But I haven't actually got into it yet, so I'm going to have to catch up on that. Pre-order for Adapters to Starters. They've done a preview for that as well, so we're seeing Space Marines and individual supplements per faction. That sounds pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And Warbands and Enforcers were on pre-order, so we had Warbands for Warcry coming out. Very, very cool. Warbands, definitely. The models are just insane, aren't they?
They're beautiful
and it's
models.
no surprise that they kind of group them in with a Necromunda release, because they're at that level, aren't they? These are just cool little units of models. Very, very cool. Right, okay then. We've got some hobby to do, and we've also got some chat. So what have we got going off here? Building Warcry terrain at the moment, says Thordalim. Oh man, do you mind doing mine? And AQP says, good evening, lovely chaps. Well, good evening to you, AQP. And Vaughn says, I wish I could, but I usually have a hobby knife, clippers and scrapers and whatnot. If I could stealth it, I would. Just sat at the back of the hall there. That'd be quite cool. I'm going to move these models out of the way, Luke, because I don't want to destroy them. So I know you've put a lot of time into them. So there you go. I just
Break them all. Break them.
I picked one of his models up the other night. He was around here doing a hobby session, and I just dumped it down in some wet paint for him. That was a good moment. Martin Champion says, what do you think about GW considering lots of the old fantasy kits? Come on, Luke. You were a massive fantasy player back in the day. What's your thoughts on that?
That game's dead. Just move on and live with the new models.
Luke, why are you so insensitive?
You've got no heart, have you, at all?
Just move
He's a
on.
Just
monster.
move on.
Yeah,
That's Luke's wise words.
they're
Yeah.
all dead.
This
Move
is a
on.
game you were
They're all
so
dead.
heavily invested in.
I know,
You're
but
just ready to move on, yeah?
it's old and boring and live with the new.
So there you go. I'm not sure that everything Luke says represents what the channel thinks, but it definitely represents what Luke thinks. So move on, says Luke. What do I think? I think there's some of those models that are absolutely gorgeous, but at the end of the day, you're quite right. If you've got those old models, ultimately at some point they're no longer viable, are they? So there's got to be an end. Everything has an end, doesn't it? There you go. A bit of philosophy for you.
Well,
And I think there's an end to everything, isn't there? And the point is, if you look at the new models now and you put the old models alongside them, there's definitely like a two-tier level of quality, isn't there? So they need to make room for new range and new models. So,
yeah, that's the main thing. Making room.
and that's what they're doing. They're a business, and ultimately, what is coming out, if what was coming out was more of the same, then I'd be like, this isn't right. But what's coming out now is far superior in terms of quality, technology, sculpt. So to me, I don't mind it, but I wasn't heavily invested in the old system. Well, actually, you know what? I was edition 1 and 2 of Warhammer Fantasy, so I suppose I could walk around grumbling that none of my old lead models are still viable for the game, but it's just that, isn't it? It's a generational shift, isn't it? I literally had something like 17,000 points of orcs, which were like Harboff's Black Mountain Boys and stuff like that. The orc that was just stood with its arms like that. I had tons and tons of that stuff. But I didn't really think twice when I returned to the hobby 15 years later that I couldn't really use those models anymore, if you know what I mean. It was, the game had moved on. So there you go. We've just got to get over it, haven't we? It's horrible. Martin says, I want the Corvus Warband. Sorry, that's Johnny Rockstar saying that. Martin says, I wish I could have got some of the High Elf ones before they went. Oh, I agree, because some of the High Elf models were beautiful. So from a collector's stance, I dare say you'll see some of them hitting the second-hand market. And I can't see them right now becoming valuable.
Completely disappearing. I don't know.
Yeah, but you'll see some of those on the second-hand market now, won't you?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because let's face it, this hobby is full of people with shelf after shelf after shelf of unbuilt models. So I wouldn't even be surprised if you could come across some of those kits unbuilt, still on sprue, There's plenty of collectors out there that never really got round to it. Frost and Fist, hey there fam. Hey Frost and Fist, how you doing? You beautiful people. Well, I think, is that a question or a statement? That's hard to say.
We'll just take the compliment.
I think he's trying to say, how are you beautiful people? Because that's what he usually says. So
beautiful person,
we're fine.
Not the other two.
You're not beautiful, and you is correct, isn't it? Vaughn saying hello, Frost and Fist saying hey to Vaughn, and just some Wargamer Online before class, says Vaughn. Right, what have I got to do? I've got to build. Why am I building your? You know what? I'm just gonna go.
Smash it.
Luke, just because I'm going.
This isn't the Wargamer Online show now. It's the Liam and Luke show.
How much noise are people getting from the aircon unit, by the way? Because I can turn that off if it's making a load of noise on the microphone. So let me know if it's annoying. We could probably turn it off anyway. It's cooled down a lot in here. It was quite bad. What are we looking at? This is the other thing I'm looking at. So I'm not sure whether I've shown these on a show yet. I think I might have done, but these are my Gemma Squigs. So this is the most exciting element of my Dankold Trogoff army at the moment.
Gemma Squigs.
Where I've made Gemma Squigs. So this is the Geminid Endless Spell turned into angry or happy squig spirits that come on the table, and you've just used them in the game, haven't you? And it's the smile's quite off-putting. That's generally what we discovered.
Jack loved it.
Yeah, when something's doing a whole bunch of D3 mortal wounds to you and messing up your ability to either hit or wound, when it's grinning at you like that, it's quite effective. Martin says, that's what the noise is. Right, 2 seconds, Martin. I'm going to get back and I'm just going to go turn that off.
We're gonna lose the aircon.
I think we'll be fine now. It was really hot in here, but it's cooled down. So there you go, some silence now. Actually, that's better for me as well. Johnny says, here's a thought. You could bring up Warhammer Fantasy Battle, updated versions of the old world factions, just like they did in Forge World for 40k, with the 30k range. Oh. Can you imagine if they released Old World?
End times. Back again.
I've done all my crying. I've got over it. Don't bring it back. Move on.
He's got over
dead.
it. I suppose at the end of the day, they don't really need to do that. You could whip out your 8th edition rulebook and your end times and just get on with it, couldn't you? If you wanted to just play the old world, all of that material and all of the models are still available to you.
Yeah.
It's only from a tournament scene point of view. I mean, that's the reality. You can play whatever game you want in your own house with your mates, can't you? So if you want to play 8th edition in the old world, fill your boots.
Yeah.
There's nothing really stopping you. And, obviously, other than, as you quite rightly pointed out, access to some of the some of the models, now they've completely disappeared, is a bit of a pain. But I strongly suspect you'll be seeing a whole flood of those things on the second-hand market, particularly amongst gamers who aren't really about the collection. They were about the models they can use in games. I'm so bored with these models that I'm building for somebody
Hunters
else.
are amazing. Everyone should buy 24 Hunters.
Do you want to talk about the list that do you talk about your list, or is that going to happen?
The one that I just played?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that?
Are people interested in
I
the
don't
1,000-point
know.
list?
Do you want to see what a 1,000-point list is? No. What about your Iden of Deepkin list 2,000 points? What's in that?
7 units of 3 eels, 2 scryers, a king, and some hunters. Interesting.
So it feels a bit eely, for want of a better word, yeah?
Yes.
How many units of 3 eels?
7.
7 units of 3 eels.
Yeah, all the same. Shock eels.
Right, okay, so...
Boring.
Yeah. But,
Very interesting.
Boring, mate.
It's fair to say that Luke likes his tournament scene, don't you? So, you know,
competitive play.
you like to do competitive play. That's what you're about. And that's okay. There's room in this hobby for everyone, isn't there? So...
Although I was trying to do it a little bit less, I would pick a different army if we're going to go heavily competitive.
Right.
Because I've not really got the army to probably not win an event, but it's still strong.
It's still strong. So, in terms of... you've got to get this army done by what and for what event?
September.
September.
I gotta get it done for the Facehammer.
Facehammer. So you're planning on doing that? If you can get this army done in September.
I'll try my best.
That's a lot of work. When in September?
21st of September.
21st. Yeah, you've got a lot of work. No wonder you're asking me to build some hunters for you. Literally every second I save you just gets you like slightly closer to actually being able to go to that tournament, yeah?
Yeah.
Luke never did turn up to that tournament.
Martin says at Forge World prices, maybe not. Yeah, you've got a fair point, actually. I kind of see Johnny's point, of course, is maybe Forge World could have released some of the old factions with updated models.
I tell you what old model they should bring back is the Forge World Landship.
Oh, that landship's amazing.
Beautiful model.
If anybody's got one out there for sale, the Forge World Landship, let me know, because Luke desperately wants one.
Hit me up, I'll give you a tenner.
No, wait, whoa.
Tenner.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I'll buy it, and then I can gloat to you that I've got one.
No, don't do that, please.
Look at my
I
fancy
would like to
boat.
see more Forge World Age of Sigmar kits through, though, for unique and interesting or large units. Agreed. I think that, Forge World are... I think it's no secret they've heavily focused on the heresy stuff, and quite rightly so. That's where they've made their money more recently. But it's one of those things. I think Forge World just need somebody within their organisation giving some Age of Sigmar love. And it's little things like, make the monsters available to more factions and stuff like that, so people could add them to their armies. The classic one being, being able to add the Magma Dragon to a Fire Slayer army, and there's a Mere Worm or something like that, or there's some
to
kind
Ideneth.
To the Ideneth, just do that, and you'd
They're
sell
all destruction, aren't they?
they're all destruction.
Yeah.
But if you did that, you'd sell like 20 times the amount of them, wouldn't you? Because they're beautiful models. Vaughan says, especially here in the States, there's a 20-30% markup now. Yeah, that's not great, is it? International, I miss being able to just pay for international shipping. Well, Vaughan, just let me know what you want. I'm sure we can work something out. Just send me your order through. I can pick them up at Warhammer World and I'll ship them out to you, mate. Don't worry about it. Evening all, says Ralph Hummel, and sorry I'm late for the show. Been busy. Well, dial in. I don't know what would happen to the screen, though. It might break, but Ralph, you could be on in the background and telling people what you're up to, or are you happy just to hobby away in the background? I'll leave you to it. I've got to decide what to do with this. I'm feeling really uninspired about finishing your models for you, especially now I've found out you're under such a tight deadline.
Don't do it, Phil.
I know, I'm just not interested now.
Snap it. Make it go even
build
more
some
longer.
more Squig Endless spells.
Some Squig Endless spells. We have decided in the course of tonight that all of the endless spells I employ under my Gloomspike Gits are going to be essentially Squigified. So we've been like, for instance, the pendulum. The pendulum was just going to be a Mangler Squig, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Dragging a great big chain behind it, like a ball and chain or something.
Quicksilver swords, all tiny little mini squigs flying about.
Mini squigs just piling over the top of each other for Quicksilver swords. I'm sure we came up with some other stuff as well. But
shackles, we need to do something for shackles.
The shackles, I'm not using the shackles.
Chain down.
Why don't?
Goblins.
Yeah.
Why don't, for the purple sun, you have like a puffer squig? So it's a big old squig that turns into like a puffer fish, where it just goes.
I like that. Oh man.
Yeah, it's good, but
Just-
purple sun's shocking, so don't do it.
Purple's it's dropped in price, hasn't it? I think it was like
50
50 points now.
Yeah.
What have you got against the purple sun? This is interesting.
You got to
'cause
rely on
everybody got
sixes.
You're looking for sixes.
Mm.
And from a tournament perspective, you're not interested in that, are you?
No.
What about the gnashing gnaws of whatever Ravenak? Turn that into a
Yeah.
massive mangler squig.
I quite like the Forge World Gargantuan Squig-Off or whatever it's called. That's kind of cool.
I like the multiple eyes for it.
What endless did I use? The moon, Scuttle Tide.
The moon and the skull.
Germanids,
So we don't need to do
pendulum.
anything with that. The pendulum you had. The moon and the skull tide's beautiful. It's really good. This is so boring doing your models. I'm going to switch to desk because I think that's broken the camera anyway, Ralph joining in. Oh, so Ralph's in the background. I can't actually hear him there.
I've not said a word yet.
Oh, you just not said a word, have you? Okay. Hey, Ralph, how you doing, man?
Not too bad yourself.
Yeah, I'm good. We're just having a little bit of a hobby hangout, seeing what people are up to. It's been a while. I'm on broken technology, so I can't guarantee how well any of this is working, but hopefully people can see and hear us. And to be honest, you know, if the bad camera work is not working for you or whatever, just turn off the picture and treat us like a podcast, and it'll all be fine. Right. So, Purple Sun Squig, perfect. Yes, as a puffer squig, I agree with you. It'd look brilliant. Vaughan says, I got really excited about the US warehouse until markups. Okay, so there's a US warehouse, but are you paying basically... oh, of course, they changed the price across the globe, didn't they? Is that right? They released country-specific pricing for Forge World?
Not just for Forge World, for GW as well.
For GW as well, yeah. Yeah, that was kind of ugly, wasn't it? But
Well,
you know,
yeah.
the world is in a tumulus state at the moment. So trade is all over the place, isn't it? And I don't think it helps that we're faffing around in our own self-destructive trading method at the moment. So we'll see. All these things lead to uncertainty, which means we can't quite buy as much plastic as we used to. So therefore, it's a bad idea.
Don't talk about politics.
I'm not going into politics. I'm just saying it's affecting our plastic.
Yeah, the plastic trade is a serious condition here, Luke. You need to take it seriously.
Talking about stealing more of your stuff, where's your water effect so I can rob it?
Oh, Luke.
Have you filled it up for me? You've not filled it up for me. Look, I need it full.
There's
Oh no,
plenty.
Luke's doing the whiny voice again.
There's loads in there. Anyway, I haven't got any more of that. You, as ever, Luke, you tend to have just used all my stuff. So, Ralph, what have you been working on? I saw some stuff around Kill Team at some point.
Yeah, I've pretty much finished with my AdMech kill team, which is now 40 models or so strong. So I can use elites and I can use commanders in there. And I'm flashing out my orcs kill team at the moment. So I'm working on 11 orc boys right now, just to flash those out. And of course, I'm waiting for a big parcel to come in tomorrow or the day after, with the Warcry banner on top.
Right. Okay.
So that's next.
So you're into Warcry then, yeah?
The more I've looked at the rules, the more I like it. The one thing I'm not really keen about is that the non-specific Warcry warbands are very, very restricted for the time being. So, wait and see.
Some of them look pretty impressive. I think it was the Auric one I was looking at. That looks kind of like a lot of fun.
Yeah, but I'm a Stormcast player, and I'm a bit annoyed that you can only get Vanguard stuff in there for the time being. I'm just saying, for the time being. You never know. In 6 months' time, they'll probably release an add-on where you can take more models.
Well, maybe. I mean, if it's like Necromunda, they've been slow to add those kind of non-gang specific factions, haven't they? They did do them at the, you had things like the Gene Stealer cult and stuff. But we've not really seen the rest. I think they tried to give the game, it room for its own growth, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath, is what I'm saying. That they're going to
I'm not
expand those out too much. I don't think.
I'm not, but I've already seen a couple of posts of people starting to work out their own rule cards and that sort of stuff for non-official warbands. So,
okay. Well, that's the great thing about the hobby. People can just make their own stuff up and play along.
Yeah, the community will step in. That's as easy as it gets.
So we played 3 games tonight. Well, I say we did. Luke and Jack played 3 games tonight.
Warcry?
No, we were. What was it? Age of Sigmar 1,000 points. Did you ever go above 1,000 points?
No.
They were all 1,000-point games. So what was the first match?
That was Iron Jaws versus
Silver.
Kurnoth Hunters with bows.
Oh, okay. So a heavy Kurnoth Hunter list, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some debate over how consistent with the rule set the whole game was, but the Iron Jaws took that game, did they?
Yeah. I'll give him the one game because the next 2 games didn't go.
Didn't quite go to plan,
swimmingly well for Jack.
So that the game was, for want of a better word, won by Jack by the Maw Crusher getting in there and making an absolute mess of the Kurnoth Hunters. I think that's the fairest point to say. So game 2, what was that?
That was the Gloomspite versus
what was he playing?
Free Guild.
Yeah, Gloomspite versus Free Guild. So, and when we say Gloomspite, again, another quite specific. There was a lot of endless spells in there, wasn't there? Is that the one that had all those endless spells?
5 endless spells.
5 endless spells.
5 endless spells.
Yeah.
Nice, fluffy.
Jack wasn't very happy. Yeah, Jack wasn't very happy at all in that game. There was a lot of grumpiness. It did look dreadful to play against, because at one point though the table was just utterly full of endless spells, dishing out D3 mortal wounds left, right, and centre. So you were just eroding his army away. It was pretty cool.
It was really fun for me.
Yeah, you had a great time. I'm not sure Jack did.
Remind me not to play against you.
What do you mean?
Well, you know, he is of course, as I said, he's quite a competitive player, so he enjoys that play style. And Jack knew what he was getting into
So
when
is
he's
Jack.
playing. Yeah, Jack is quite competitive, actually. I agree with you. He doesn't like losing though. So
Is he a bit grumpy?
no, I don't think so. They weren't grumpy. There were some disagreements during the game, which was quite funny. So you
Morton
can
on
always tell
Morton.
that. And then we had what was the last game?
Hunters versus...
Back to your Hunters list, yeah.
Beastclaw Raiders.
And to be honest, Beastclaw Raiders hit pretty hard in turn 1.
Yeah, they
And
did.
you didn't quite have enough to bubble wrap and protect your Kernoffs. But ultimately, the mobility of the crikey, what are they called? The
Tree Revenants won me
Revenants,
the
yeah.
game,
Yeah, they just won you the game by objective grabbing turn after turn.
yeah.
Yeah, you know, so you just get too far ahead on objectives when every single turn the Tree Revenant will just leap off into the distance, capture a new objective. Yeah, it's for a slow moving army, and it is not that slow, but you know, he can't exactly get across the table and recapture the objectives. That's the issue, isn't it? And you just creep ahead on points every turn, don't you?
Yeah.
Until you can't catch up, basically. Even if he's wiped you off by the end, which there was a good chance he may have wiped you off by the end of that game if he could have caught you. But even then, you'd have been way too many points ahead.
Yeah, it's not that. It's just being able to summon loads of dryads and blocking off.
Oh,
they
of
can't
course. You kept summoning the dryads as well, which wasn't really helping the situation, was it?
No.
But you know, as long as you had fun, that's what counts.
I did have
Luke
lots of
never has fun.
I did. I had lots
His
of fun.
only desire in life is to watch people twitch as he beats them.
Yes.
That's truth.
Sucking all the soul out of you while I have fun.
Just a monster.
We've had some great games. I have to say, I've had some great games against Luke. I really enjoy his play style. You know, he just it's funny to play against, but also you learn a lot. Every single game you play against him, you tend to come away with a couple of important lessons in gameplay. So I don't mind that. Right,
That's
what
cool.
have we got here? We've got some chat. So we catch up on the chat for a second.
Yeah.
Vaughan says I got really. Oh no, Purple Sun Squeak. Yeah, wait. Vaughan says, yep. Now price increase on top of tax and shipping. Plus now that I'm a student, I don't have the income I used to. I'd like to see the Necromonger gangs get 40k and kill team profiles. I'm hoping if or when they release the Inquisition Codex, they may add some profiles in them for that. That would be very cool. I think ultimately, you know, there's all these incredible models. I just like the opportunity to pretty much play them in whatever game I want. You know, as long as it's within the universe. So, you know, obviously not showing up with 40k models to Sigmar. But,
Yeah, but you shouldn't forget that, you know, Games Workshop are a company that make their money on selling models.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you know, that's the pretty much the gist of it. That you're not going to get every single model that is going to be available to be played in every single game they've got.
No, exactly.
Storage is an issue, isn't it? To storing all the models all the old models, we'll have to get rid of them.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what's going to happen to the Space Marines.
Yeah, well, that was inevitable, wasn't it? Right from the minute they announced Primaris Marines, it was
Of course
it was always a ticking clock for that. You know.
I just wonder how many of them will be still playable factions, not in this new version of the Codex that's coming up, but the version after that. I think
what kind of factions? Well, what factions?
The old Space Marine, the regular Space Marine models.
Oh, you saying we'll start to see some of the actual regular Space Marine units just get tanked, for want of a better word?
Of course, because you know, Games GW they want to sell the Primaris, so they need to tank them.
Yeah, it's got to happen at some point, hasn't it? I suppose. I'm just wondering whether it's too soon. Is it too soon?
I think
Probably
it is.
not.
I think it is because the Primaris range isn't flashed out as it should be
What, yet?
yet.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a whole bunch of new vehicles coming, isn't there?
Yep.
There's some of the favourite characters are getting transferred over to Primaris now.
Calgar.
Yeah.
Some White Scar characters that's new coming out. Is it Tiberius that's coming out for Ultramarines?
No, it's
Just a generic librarian with stave.
No, I think it
Yeah.
is Tiberius, isn't it? Because when they said, some of your old characters back, they showed.
That must have been Chakati Khan or whatever his name is, the chapter master then that we saw in the photo.
Pass. Are you talking about the White Scar model or the
Yeah, that
the
one.
Psyker? Yeah, but the Psyker, there's a White Scar model and there's a Psyker, and both of those are characters from the old range because they did a video, didn't they? A retrospective of the Space Marines, and they kind of, in that video, showed the original models that those new Primaris models are based on, basically.
Yeah.
Which was not necessarily completely admitting they were new at that stage, but they just kind of did that comparison. I think it was fairly obvious that's what was happening.
You got the heresy, so Space Marines are always going to be about, aren't they?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Space Marines are the kits themselves, one would argue. Mind you, really, in Heresy? Things like Space
it's
Wolves?
a big game, massively supported.
Yeah. Good point.
What's the main thing for Forge World, isn't it, really?
True.
Yeah, but only of the 18 legions, none of the
True.
chapters.
There's only 18 legions of Space Marine models.
Yeah, but you haven't got all the successor chapters for, what do you call it, have you?
No, but you can. That's the beauty of it, painting them however you want, can't you? Whatever chapter you want.
Yeah, true.
You've got all your special units as well that they make.
Yeah.
Space Marines ain't going to
I'm
go anywhere for a long time.
What I'm saying is, if you've got a successor chapter, if it's not
Yeah.
the first successor chapter, you're stuck with a whole bunch of models, and you can't necessarily use them in the Heresy.
Well, again, of course, you can use them as Primaris models if you like. Just stick them on 32mm bases and, use the Primaris sheets. It's only, again, when you come to tournament scene, isn't it? We tend to kind of think this is all completely restrictive, but within the confines of your own gaming club, you can do whatever you want, really.
Sure, of course.
Doesn't stop you using the new, the new stats and unit types with your old models.
Sure.
So it depends how much you want to hang on to your old models, really, isn't it? He says dropping one of Luke's really important parts and losing it. What else have we got? I like Primaris Marine models. This is Martin again, but much prefer the old school Marine vehicles. Yeah, I can see your point on that as well. I like some of the old vehicles. Counterintuitive, if they gave Necromunda models profiles in more games, they'd make more money from them. Yeah, well, that's I mean, that's the question, isn't it? Obviously, their strategy is to restrict certain models to certain games, but it's not consistently applied. So if you were to take Shadespire, where they make them as viable units in Age of Sigmar, but then you can't take the Necromunda gangs into 40k. So they seem to apply that rule and the reasoning differently from one gaming system to another. I have to say, though, I've never seen a Shadespire faction that's overly competitive inside Sigmar. It's just so you can take the
They're
model,
not.
isn't it?
They're
No,
not.
they're not. They're shocking.
Yeah. So they're not trying to sell them, they're just making it possible. I mean, I've got that Molog, or whatever his name is.
Oh, Molog. With the
He's
puffer
so-
twig stick or something like that.
He's so dreadful in Sigmar, it's brilliant.
The best troll in the game.
Yeah, you might as well, just not bother. Just not. But anyway, which is a shame, because I quite like the model. So I like the idea. He's a bit of fun, isn't he, in a game, but,
It's
not
like the
kind of
old
fun
man
that-
troll.
Yeah. Right, Martin says, I like Primaris models, but much prefer the old school Marines. Frost and Fist says, oh, we've already covered that. Martin says, the Rhino plus variant and the Land Raider looks so much more better than the Primaris ones. I definitely agree on the Land Raider front. I think it's a great looking vehicle. And the Primaris ones, they've gone all hover with them, haven't they, sort of thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, you know.
Hover.
Like
Anyway.
that Adeptus Mechanicus
Land ship.
hover land ship thing. It's amazing.
That is pretty cool. You're right.
Those are cool. I totally agree.
How many of those have you bought, Ralph?
None so far, but they're on my
7.
On your to-do list.
they're on my order list. But right now,
15 on order.
Behind Warcry.
yeah, I mean, I've made I've added up what I've already got done for my AdMac, and I'm at almost 1,000 points. So
Frost and Fist says he really wants the Godsworn Hunt. They're such good models. They're great.
I do like some of the warbands from Shadespire. I just wouldn't necessarily use them because I don't play Shadespire because I get very bored of it. And in Age of Sigmar, it just seems like a point sponge.
Yeah.
Something that just doesn't really do much. I mean, I'll probably convert the models to see what happens, to be fair.
they're pretty OP in Age of Sigmar.
Let's put Hobby Dad on the spot. What causes the cloudiness in the water? Is it because I've not let it dry? Contrast.
What?
It looks weird. Like, I'm not gonna say.
Beat him up, Phil. He's ruining your stuff.
I'm guessing that's the contrast reactivating. Have you got PVA in there?
No, it looks like that, doesn't it?
Possibly the contrast reactivating. Did you shake up the water effects?
Yes.
That didn't sound very confident.
No.
That was clearly a lie.
I don't lie.
Right, hold on a second then. I'm going to see if I can... Yeah, that's not really going to work out, is it? I don't know how we did that.
What?
But I've
4 people.
definitely broke the positioning of everyone. And I don't think I can fix it in time.
Wing it.
You've had a three people layout before.
I know, but again, I'm on a temporary machine, so obviously something's happened in terms of camera positioning. So I was just trying to quickly fix it, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So what I'm going to do is just tilt the camera up. Hey, that fixed it. Okay, well you can still see. I mean, we can only see, I think, Liam's head. The forehead of Liam looks
I've got
good there.
My forehead is fine.
Liam, you need to tilt your camera down, Liam.
Yeah, that works. Yeah, it's not great, but it will keep us going for the rest of the show, won't it? And Ralph, I'll see if I can get you in there as well in a minute.
Don't worry.
I just need to glue this arm.
I'm
trying to put
happy
loads. Luke really likes it when you obscure a lot of detail with large quantities of plastic glue. So
Just gets to the tournament, rings you up. Hey Phil, why is there an arm on my triad's head? Don't know. It just happened.
oh dear me. Yeah, no, that's not good. Okay, Ralph, you're on camera now, mate. You're on camera. I've managed to get you on anyway. So
Let me.
It's not funny. It's
Oh.
not funny.
Thordalim says, by the way, the 2 new Warcry warbands, the logos they teased are on the art cards you could get with pre-orders. Okay.
I
I've missed
think-
out a little bit on the...
I believe there to be some other bits and bobs in the Warcry set that have not yet been released as news, because there's quite a few people have picked out that there's little symbols for gargantuans, mounts, and other heroes, I believe. in the actual box.
Okay. I know that in I was listening to one of the podcasts the other day, and one of the gangs is rumoured to have a dragon or some kind of beastie under its command. And I did wonder whether that was going to be more than fluff or whether that's part of its expansion. That you're going to be able to bring like some kind of weird beastie to the table as well, if you like.
I mean, it's probably like the Furies, you know.
Yeah, I wondered whether it'd be quite small or whether, you know, that whole thing when they released Shadespire, and they kind of had this internal debate of, you know, can we, can't we? I'm just going to reach across here and grab this cable. Can we, can't we put a large, you know, model inside Shadespire? And they released the Troll and decided, yeah, that's good fun. I just wondered if they're going to follow the same model, if you like, for Warcry, as in, you know, that whole, just simply apply the why not logic. You know, why not? It'd be fun.
We'll see. I mean, if
what, the whole thing is cloud. This is cloudy. I know it sets clearer though. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Right, so it won't stay like this.
No, I think it'll set clear. Don't you worry your little bitty socks about that. It's not like you're trying to get Breast Army or anything like that. So.
No, don't do it to me. Don't do it to me.
So, yeah.
Best army. Cloudy with a chance of water effects.
I have actually got my own army to be getting on with, and here I am doing bowstrings for Kernoff Hunters.
Is that Jack's broken army, or is that fixed by now?
No, most of his army's fixed. There's a couple of units that I daren't touch until he got back because I couldn't actually work out which bit came from where. So I needed input from Jack. Yeah, I mean...
How did you break it? Did you just like accidentally like stomp on it or something? So I just drew foul.
They were on a slide-out shelf. You know, those sort of storage shelves I've done.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I slid the shelf out, and then the shelf slipped out of my hands. Only enough for the shelf to tilt.
Oh, no.
So what it did was tip two armies onto the floor, and then as I, in slow motion, went, oh no, I then dropped the shelf onto the two armies.
Yeah.
For crying out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a big wooden shelf essentially landed on top of the armies.
Oh no.
Yeah, it wasn't a good moment. And Sam was round. He was visiting, and he looked at me and he went, "Oh my god," like that. And we both looked down, and you could just see, you know, when you can see separate arms, and you know, they weren't arms that you glued on. They were arms that were part of a single part. You know, you knew that the model had literally broken, not just coming apart where they were glued. And I looked down, and he looked at me, and he started to bend down to pick them up, and I went, "I don't want to know. We're going out." And we went out to the pub. And I just left them on the floor because I kind of figured whatever damage has you know been done has been done. You know, I mean, there's nothing I can do now. So, you know, there's just... exactly, finding out exactly what went wrong just doesn't really, you know, who cares? So, I went out to the pub. We had, you know, some nice drinks and pizza. And then we got home, and I still didn't go anywhere near the shelf. I just left it on the floor. And I think it was like a day later. I thought, I'm just going to go assess the situation now. And I just went in there and I sat cross-legged on the floor, tried not to cry. And I had like 2 trays, and I was just picking, that's the Daughters of Cain arm. That's Iden of Deepkin foot. You know, it was like that. It was part after part.
Oh no, Phil.
It was quite demoralising. And I decided at that point, I said I'm quitting Iden of Deepkin at the time. And I think you came round and you convinced me to try and rebuild them. Because there were just parts all over the place, and you actually pointed out the Iden of Deepkin hadn't suffered too bad. So
Yeah, they were alright.
yeah, the Idol of Deepkin, they were in many pieces, but they were really quite logical pieces, for want of a better word. So there was only about 4 weapons that had actually snapped, which is ridiculous because those things are so delicate. So I repaired the weapons and then started working on the models themselves. But you know, these were fully based, fully painted models from the tournament. Basically, it was the tournament armies that had both tournament armies, Jack and mine tournament army, that piled onto the floor.
When they're magnetized.
They are magnetized, but they're not magnetized to the tray because the tray isn't magnetized. I've got some metal sheet on order to add to the bottom of the tray, but of course, too little, too late. Of course, came the cry. I can't believe I've just spent 10 minutes stripping separate copper wires apart so I can make some bowstrings. What am I doing?
You love it.
Thanks, Luke.
Well, you're not gonna put some lights somewhere for those.
Well, they're copper wires, so in theory I could
Hollow out the Kernoff hunters and put light bulbs in it so they're glowing, or just set them on fire.
Sounds brilliant. Set the Kernoff
Nice guy.
Set the Kernoff hunters on fire, yeah? Nice.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Sounds
like
like a shocking idea.
You know, like the dude that burned up his whole
Oh no, I heard about this.
Warhammer collection when they switched to AS. Did you ever see the video on YouTube?
Yeah, he had a proper rage quit, didn't he? Bless him.
Completely ridiculous.
I wonder if he's ever returned to the hobby.
Well, if he did, he's a fool.
If he did, he would seriously reconsider all of that he burned.
Mental health issues.
What did he burn? I can't remember what the actual army was.
Was it High Elves? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was High Elves.
Oh man, they've got a fortune for those now, wouldn't they?
Mm.
Right, okay, what we got going on in the chat?
That's one way to rub it in.
By the way, the two, I think we've covered that one. Tyrants look like barbarians. The other one has a flame fiend, so that's the new ones. Well, the silhouettes do. Frost and Fist says, poor Phil. Now I feel less bad about the Wolf Lord I shattered. I saw that, mate. That was bad news. But yeah, it was I managed to do it to an entire army. Big oof indeed. Says Frost. Oh, the big oof. Right, okay.
Ow, now.
Right. Okay, here we go. That's one bowstring done. That's kind of, yeah, there you go, look, making a bowstring.
How many do you need to do?
I've got one more to do.
Oh, that's okay.
So I'm getting there. The main issue is then mounting the bowstring. You actually have to put the bow under pressure and put little blobs of super glue, and then when the bow comes under pressure, it makes the bowstring tight, you know. It's all nonsense. Why am I doing this? I still don't know. Yes, Luke, thank you, mate.
Because you can.
The violin is coming out.
How are we doing for time? 20 past 10. So I think we've been live for almost an hour, if not an hour, because we just went live. We actually just went live early, didn't we?
We're just like, screw it, we'll go live. Bada bing, bada boom.
I mean, the reason I can't do the show is titled Wrong Thumbnail, and the reason it's titled Wrong Thumbnail is because I actually, again, the machine that has all the master artwork on for the thumbnails is currently in repair. So
what happened?
Don't know. Just stopped working. So
1 minute was
there.
there. 1 minute wasn't.
Blowout, or the hard drive seemed to be okay. I did have access to the hard drive. I pulled it out. That was all good. So I think it's processor. But of course, it's like I say, it's they're reviewing it under warranty. So I've had to take it in and leave it with them. And of course, every now and every 2 or 3 days, I get an email going, "We've assessed your claim, and we've ordered spare parts." Was the last email I had. So I'm hoping I'll get some good news soon. 2 bowstrings.
Is that anything to do with the heat wave?
No, I don't think so. I wasn't even using the machine. I started to have some problems. I don't know whether you remember a couple of live shows where it started to behave weird. I started to get sync issues and stuff like that, and I was thinking it was software related, and then it just started to behave strange. It started to power down randomly and stuff like that. And I checked, I checked all the vents and all that kind of stuff. It was all making sense, but
that's a typical heatsink problem.
Yeah, you'd think so. Don't know. It all seemed to be going okay. I ran some utilities. It wasn't reporting that it was running hot. So, pass, and then it just went. So, you can only do so much.
Or the defective motherboard.
Yeah. Definitely a strange one.
Here we have the Wild Phil doing Luke's army. Let's watch as he builds it for him.
What are you doing, Liam?
Building orcs, mate, for my own stuff.
Building orcs.
I'm basing them at the moment.
You changing your
You're
army
basing.
every week.
I'm basing my orcs here. My orc boys. Because of those, I did what I never do. I glued them to the base first.
Yeah.
And I put a little magnet on it, on the base. Yeah, really put magnet in there. And then I built a paint handle holder with a magnet on top of that. And I've got, so I can swap out the models on the fly, really. And I've got the shelf above my office desk is metal. So basically they're hanging upside down from that shelf right above my office desk. So I can swap them out anytime I want to. Oh, Liam's gone.
Nice. So Liam's gone.
Yeah, but that leaves me with having to base the models after I glued them to the base, which is something I loathe. But because they've not got any, they've not got any cloaks and that sort of stuff, it's all right.
Have you got any small ones of them?
Don't say anything, Phil. It's a trap.
No.
Dang.
He's trying to steal his stuff, brother. Beat him up.
Sorry.
It's the fact that he said, it was so funny. It was like, have you got any Kurnoff hunters? And it's a proper Luke question, that, isn't it? Like, have you got an entire unit? It's not like, have you got an arm? Or, have you got a spare weapon? It's, have you got an entire unit?
I say, what a fine looking army you got there, brother.
Which, to be honest,
take this.
you topped it tonight by actually bringing an entire list. So he built an army list. And then said, have you got this army? So you did. You did even top your own your history there. Too. I was impressed.
Yes. Got an army now.
Oh, God.
I had that much fun with it. It was that good.
Oh, is this your Gloomspite list?
Oh, yes.
I thought you said they weren't competitive, Luke. That's why you weren't going to touch them.
No, Luke. You give him a book and about half an hour, and before you know it, he's come up with some absolutely insane list out of that book. So that's essentially what happened. Thank you very much, Neil Bolden, for subscribing. Oh man, how do I get this to stick? This is a nightmare. I might actually bring the camera up on this so people can see what a pain it is that I'm working on at the moment. So I'm trying to string a bow. Let's see if I can do this. Can you guys see this? So I've got the bow in one arm, I've got the string in the other. Trying to position it like that, and then if I can get it to just hold position, I can drop some super glue on that. That's looking good. So all I've got to do now is catch it while I'm trying to position it, which is what usually happens. Let's see if I can zoom in. There you go. Little brass bow. And the idea is I want the string to look like a kind of vine or something. So it's made out of 4 pieces of brass wire. Or copper wire, actually. Why am I saying brass?
Blood for the blood god, skill for the skill fan. That's why.
That's why, point. You can tell I'm concentrated. I would have agreed with anything there. I'd be like, yeah, that sounds fine, Luke. Liam, whichever one you are.
Okay, I'll see how it is, Phil.
Oh no!
No! Don't do it to me.
There goes his prize-winning
Not
army.
again. Not again. All my painted models are covered in paint.
Wargaming Dad says evening all. Wargaming Dad's a great title. Yeah, I've got the title Wargaming Dad every now and then. I think I'm your Wargaming Papa. He's close to the truth.
Wargamer Papa John.
My Wargaming Dad for sure.
So good name, Wargaming Dad. I like that. Right.
Have you played
Trying to
Warcry
do
yet?
this copper wire so it's like growing out the bow, you know. Have I played Warcry yet? No, not actually played it. Jack was looking through some of the stuff with me tonight because we're going to be playing it. So that's the plan. I think we're going to try and get Jack's going to try and get the terrain built this week, and just quickly paint it up, even if it's just a quick run through the airbrush, and so we can do some test games over the weekend. We were talking about possibly as well just doing some live kind of playthrough. Right. Okay, that's good.
Don't glue the ladders. Don't follow the
ladders.
Yeah, because otherwise you will not be able to use all the configuration in the cards.
Okay. I was going to check the cards. That was one thing I was saying to Jack. Is absolutely we need to make sure. Is that really meant to go like that? Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
Kind of works.
If in doubt.
Throw it out. If in doubt, throw it out.
No, it just... He's mounting the arrow on the wrong side of the bow.
It's 2019, Phil. He can do what he wants.
What have you done to me?
It's because they don't think about bowstrings, do they? You know, they don't actually think this is... So he's just running around with the arrow. I could be sticking the wrong arm on, to be honest.
I think it's rather that, Phil.
It's too late now.
Too late, mother.
Too late now.
Is he based already?
Pardon?
Is he based already?
Yeah, he's already based.
Yeah, shame. Otherwise, he could have stuck him just the other way around on the base.
Yeah, you're very evil, aren't you? You sound like such a nice guy. Such a nice guy.
I think that's the first time Ralph's been told he sounds like a nice guy.
True.
By Luke, of all people.
Nicest
Where
guy.
are we at? Does that work?
Nicest
No, that
guy I've
doesn't
ever
work.
met in my life.
How did I get everybody up on screen before?
Magic, Phil.
You've all gone. I'm just clicking away randomly now. We're just gonna have to do that. Maybe that's how I did it. Thordlin put that's an Idunov arm, Phil. Just sticking any old arm on the model. Yeah, that'll do. It's not my army.
It's not funny. Stop bullying me.
Character building.
Oh dear. Alright, let's get this last bowstring in place. So, have you managed to track down the last head for this unit? Because that's the other challenge we need for this unit, isn't it?
We get a storm head from someone.
You need, what is it, the aspect of the storm.
Put a Leviathan head on him.
If anybody out there has got a spare aspect of the storm head for Luke, get in touch. That'd be nice so he could finish his crazy fish ghost army.
Fish Ghost Army, I like that. Crazy Fish Ghost Army. I'm going to name it that.
That's the name.
Surf's Up Eidolon.
That's going to be on my plaque. Crazy Fish Ghost Army.
You better take Surf's Up Eidolon.
You what?
You better take Surf's Up Eidolon.
Don't mention that model. That game.
What,
What's
that
wrong with
model's
that
the greatest.
model? I really liked it.
It's really gnarly, dude. I like it.
I like Surf's Up Eidolon. I think that's really cool.
Surf's off Eidolon. Stop bullying me.
Cowabunga!
So,
Proper mean,
do you think we should describe that to people then? Because they're thinking,
Yeah.
Surf's Up Eidolon.
Definitely. We saw it.
You don't want
We
to.
saw it.
You've seen it, have you? Okay. So,
Yeah, but describe it to the watchers. It's well worth a giggle.
Well, it's the Eidolon aspect of the Storm model.
Cloak. It's the cloak of that, isn't
cloak, yeah. So it's the water, which is like the crest of a wave, isn't it?
it? Yeah.
But then
Crest of a wave.
sat on top of that.
It's Craven, the weird little throne undead Nighthaunt bloke on the throne. Just there like,
It looks really good. It looks really good until someone went, "Hey, Surf's Up Eidolon, cowabunga, dude."
I think that was me and Jack, to be fair.
We all lost it at that point, though. So he's like a waterborne mobility scooter.
That's even better.
For the
Waterborne
undead.
mobility scooter.
I think it looks amazing, though. It's just that, you know, we're mean and horrible, aren't we?
It's amazing, truly. It's
like, you know,
hobby
we all-
genius at its best.
we
I
all
love
have
it.
Hobby weaknesses. I like to stick lights on everything. If it doesn't light up, I'm not interested.
Who started the Ghost Gate though?
Ghostgate was Matthew Pink, wasn't it?
Yeah, he just stuck a ghost on a blood secretor, and that's how he won this painting competition, allegedly. And Sam lost it, and like, oh my god, you won because you had a ghost, man. It's Ghostgate, bro.
We had Ghostgate, it became known as, which is basically to Ghostgate something is to just, you know, stick something purely on the base for nothing more than attracting, you know, those extra votes in the painting competition. Hence Ghostgate. So anything we did after that. So if I stuck a light in it, you know, Ghostgate. And then you extended it to an entire army. I mean, you put a ghost on every single one of your models, which is just like, it's Ghostgate Supreme, that.
It's great.
So mean.
Thordalim says green stuff a surfboard. Anyway, yeah. Ooh, wipe out.
For that model, you gotta get one of those Ken and Barbie models figures.
I'm
with
a
the
ghost
surfboard.
David
Chop
Hasselhoff.
the surfboard off and use that.
Let's not pick on Luke anymore. He's got a beautiful army.
I'm gonna start crying.
The ghost Hoff.
Yeah, that's like you.
I do love this technique. Do you want? We said we'd talk about it a little bit, didn't we? This painting technique.
I like to call it the moist brush.
The moist. So it's not dry brushing. It's
Moist brushing.
It's moist brushing.
I did
So
that
this is
many years
using-
ago.
This
Cool,
is
cool
using
brush.
these. What are these brushes called? Can I show
Series
them?
D, they're on. I think they're still on.
Oh, they're not
Kickstarter.
there anymore. Have you taken them?
They're in the van.
They're in the. Okay, so Series D brushes that are on Kickstarter.
By Element Game. Oh, Artis Opus.
Is it Opus? Yeah.
No, Artis Opus. I can't
Artis
really
Opus.
pronounce it.
Right. And basically they're a large, round, densely
Makeup brush.
bristled makeup brush, aren't they? But there's more. They're not just a makeup brush, because
Because they last a long
yeah,
time.
they've really worked on the length of the bristle, and is it the ferrule that clamps it together?
Yeah. Because the makeup brush, you can do it with the makeup brush, but they just
They just
fall
don't
apart.
last, yeah. And then you get hair stuck all over your models and all the rest.
And
So
you
these
start
guys have
raging.
completely got around it for the brush. So yeah, it's a dry brushing technique, but you leave a bit more moisture on the brush, and it's because of this big rounded brush head. It doesn't kind of just overly paint your model, does it?
Yeah. It's well, it's you basically the best way to describe it is you're building up you'll like have 5 colours, and you'll build up from the base with like a dark colour, and you slowly go brighter and brighter and brighter. But you'll be mixing the darker to the brighter colour each time. It's just kind of like wet blending, but you've.
So a good example of this, I'm going to bring this up on camera.
But you're doing it with a dry brush. You like wet blending with a dry brush, basically, because the dry brush has to stay very moist.
So although that eel looks green, the actual base colour for that is almost
Purple.
a purple, isn't it? It's in there, isn't it?
Yeah, they
And
look
that's
like this.
the thing.
Yes,
Yeah, okay. Oh, good. Yeah, if you can do it before and after, that'd be awesome. He's
So,
gone.
The eels
He's
are
back.
purple.
So that's actually how they start off, which is quite impressive because you layer up until you've got that colour. And don't the guys start
Same as
off...
the orange, it will go purple, then it will go that red, and then it will go slowly to an orange colour.
So even the orange starts off purple. So everything starts off purple.
And everything ends with the same
And
highlight.
then you go 2 different directions. You go into the reds or you go into the greens, basically. Is that what you're doing? Yeah. The blues and then the greens.
And you end with a very like yellowy white colour.
As a really edge highlight almost.
Yeah, but that technique's basically great for any model you paint.
Yeah, because I used that technique on the Gemma Squids, didn't I? And the highlight colour. Well, you're using ice in this instance, ice yellow, isn't it? Is the Vallejo model colour ice yellow, which is a lovely paint actually. Right, we've got 3 bow, 3 arrows in these guys now. Right, where are we at? Let's have a look at the time. I think it's probably time to call it a night for these folks because we've just been hobbying away. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show. It was a bit of an impromptu thing, just as a quick catch up. I want to thank everybody who joined along tonight and came along and said hi in the chat. And thank you to Liam, Luke and Ralph for joining us for some hobby. So hope you enjoyed it. Sorry about the broken camera work and all the rest, but hopefully my broadcast machine will be back with me within the next week or so and things will return to normal. Alright, thanks everyone. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.